Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show, episode 82 of this weekly production. In this week's episode, I reflect on aspects of freedom. I share some musings on freedom. Whilst in previous episodes I have talked about freedom, I think it's essential that we are constantly discussing freedom, we are constantly on our guard to protect our freedoms, to be willing to fight for our freedoms, to share ideas about freedom, to write about freedom, to express your true feelings about freedom. It is so important because I consider that without freedom, we are no different to animals. The thing that makes humans different to animals is freedom. You have a choice, freedom or enslavement. Free to live your life or just have a boring job under the control of others. Safety of a bird in a cage versus the freedom of a bird being able to fly everywhere. I bought a budgerigar for my daughter yesterday. It's a bird in a cage. It will be safe. It will be amusing, but it won't be free. Stick around. I hope to provoke some new thinking for you about freedom. This weekly show on both YouTube and as a podcast is founded on the formula SA plus P equals S, self-awareness plus passion equals success. Since 1993, when I left my successful legal career to adopt a new career as a professional speaker, as Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired, provoked, educated audiences, big teams, small teams, individuals one-on-one about the power of passion, the amazing resource that each one of us has inside us, the amazing capability of each one of us, and when you harness passion, what it enables you to achieve, because passion is a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your spirit, your heart, that enables you to produce extraordinary results. I've shared these ideas in speeches, on videos, in my books, Passionate People Produce, my first book, and Passionate Performance. I'm very comforted that large numbers of people have told me that their lives have changed as a consequence of embracing the ideas that I have shared through my work over the last 28 years. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You are the master of your destiny. If you don't examine what your life is about, the waves will send you wherever they might want to send you. You cease to be in control of your life. Examining your life of why you are here, what you are meant to be doing, gives you enormous personal power, enables you to act with integrity, and then increases your willingness to fight for your freedom, to live your life consistently with who you know you are and who you wish to become. You can see I'm wearing my red jacket, red the colour of passion, but for those who are watching on YouTube, the sharp-eyed among you, you will realise that for the first time in 82 episodes, I don't have a black t-shirt on. I have my Hungarian 1956 commemorative t-shirt. Remember the Hungarian uprising, 1956, and I got this t-shirt 5 years ago at the 60th anniversary of that uprising. I'll have more to say about that later. Each week in the show, I explore one big idea that can change your life. If it's applicable to you, it could change your life. And I do one idea only because too many ideas confuse us. When there's too many ideas, we don't choose any idea. I hope each week to help you make better decisions, have one insight that will enable you to live life in a way that gives you deeper joy, deeper meaning, a deeper sense of purpose. With that one idea I also share with you resources that will help you implement the idea. A song, the lyrics of a song, a book, a spiritual tip, a health tip, a powerful quote, and some humour. After all, life was not meant to be taken too seriously. We're here for 120 years and then it's gone in the context of a planet that's been around for 4 billion years. We are a mere speck in the universe, but we are important, I consider. This show is not politically correct. I have no desire to be politically correct, and I support some wonderful addictions, including my addiction to coffee. Thank you to my producer, director, Julie, who makes the coffee that I can drink so that I am adequately caffeinated so that I can present this show, so I can think. I love this stuff. This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. The human spirit is an amazing, powerful resource that you have within you, and passion flows from that spirit if you spend the time to discover it and if you let it out. If you don't let it out, if you let yourself be squashed, if you let your freedom to let it out be taken, you diminish yourself. So, what's happened this week? This week, the third week of October. Well, Melbourne is the house arrest capital of the world. And on Friday, Melburnians were in the streets celebrating freedom. In one sense, I can see why. In another, we are simply getting back some of what is our entitlement, our right. It is outrageous what our politicians have done to us. Whilst the lifting of some restrictions on house arrest is good, it is the rules keep changing, the principles keep changing, and I predict that Melbourne and Victoria will be back in lockdown because our corrupt politicians, and I call them corrupt because I consider that they have been corrupted, they love the power of what they're doing. I still cannot believe that a majority of Victorians think that the Victorian government has done a good job, and that just shows the psychology of many people and how the psychological operations of this government and the Australian government have so squashed the human spirit of so many Australians. This week, I attended a meeting at 6 a.m. on Tuesday of the World Council for Health. This is an organisation of 65 medical organisations around the world who say what governments are doing is crazy. I urge you to visit its website, worldcouncilforhealth.org. There are weekly meetings, and you would be amazed at the range of treatments available for a hint of anything to do with this C19 stuff and nonsense. To think that the only way you can protect yourself against a virus is by being jabbed with poison is a ridiculous notion. I call it out as being ridiculous, fraudulent, unscientific, and I have vast amounts of evidence from my work with the World Council for Health and global experts. I attended 3 meetings of legal groups, including the Legal Committee for the World Council for Health and the Legal Committee for Doctors for COVID Ethics. There are many, many legal proceedings available to be launched, legal causes of action available to be launched to preserve your rights, your freedom, your jobs. I've spent a big part of the week talking to doctors who don't want the jab. I've been talking to people who have been injured from the jab. You would be horrified at the experience of these people. They are contacting me to find out what they can do because they can no longer work having received the jab. I've got mothers ringing me because their 20-year-old daughters have been injured. If you've been injured by the jab, please register your injury at vaxharm.net. If you know anyone who's been injured, register it at vaxharm.net. There will be significant legal proceedings taken against governments, against politicians for these injuries. I have spent a lot of time this week helping people who are losing their jobs in Victoria and in Queensland because they refuse to be jabbed with an unsafe, ineffective poison. Losing their jobs. How would you feel if you were losing your job? Are you sitting at home comfortable because the government's sending you money? There are people whose lives are being devastated because they refuse to have this poison in their bodies. I applaud that decision not to have that poison. Yesterday was my mother's birthday on the 23rd of October, 89 years of age. 23rd of October is also a crucial day in the history of Hungary, from where my parents came, as regular viewers and listeners would know. 23 October 1956 is the day that the Hungarian uprising started, the Hungarian freedom fight started. That was celebrated yesterday all around the world by communities of Hungarians, and certainly in Budapest. So last night at 10 p.m. I addressed a gathering in Budapest in the Hungarian language about what's going on in Australia, how outrageous the stealing of our freedoms is, and how Australians are pushing back against this outrageous behaviour by our governments. And of course, during the week, while all this was going on, I did manage to exercise almost every day. And that's my commitment, because I eat almost every day. In fact, I do eat every day. And I aim to exercise every day, because keeping this machine fit and healthy is what enables me to work 70 hours a week, doing the work that I was previously doing. And then with this eruption of COVID and loss of freedom, it has increased my workload enormously. So, to today's big idea. Before we do, I remind you to visit our websites, covest.com and charlescovest.com. Subscribe to Passion Points to Ponder. You can buy my books, Passionate People Produce Passionate Performance, on those websites. You can contact us via those websites. You can request the Manifesto for Self-Awareness and Passion. That's also worth reading as a guide to unleashing your passion, your amazing capabilities. So today I want to share some thoughts on freedom, a reflection on elements of freedom, some musings on freedom, because I consider that the fundamental difference between us and animals is freedom. We say, and in my intro I said, hey, to be free as a bird, but birds actually aren't all that free. They can fly freely, but they're bound by instinct. Animals are driven and bound by instinct. We have freedom. Take away our freedom, we are no different to animals. I want to reflect on the past 19 months of our freedoms being stolen from us, taken away unfairly, unjustly by governments all around the world in the name of protecting us. Beware of tyrants claiming they're protecting you and they're taking away your freedom. I want to reflect on freedom while we remember the Hungarian uprising, the Hungarian freedom fight of 1956 that started on the 23rd of October, just before the start of the Melbourne Olympics. On the 23rd of October 1956, when my mother had been in Australia just for 7 years, she turned 24. And this 23rd of October is celebrated by Hungarians all around the world because Hungarians rose up spontaneously. From lots of small student groups, they rose up spontaneously to demand that Russia leave Hungary. And until from the 23rd of October to the 4th of November, Hungarians were celebrating because it appeared that the uprising was succeeding. And then cruelly, on the 4th of November, the Russian tanks came across the Hungarian countryside from the eastern border and took back control of the country, killed, murdered many Hungarians, imprisoned many Hungarians. And the freedom fight was lost, but the desire for freedom was not lost. And from that moment on, communism in Hungary was almost a goulash type communism, where the pressures on the restrictions on Hungarians were much less than most other, in fact all other communist countries controlled by the Russians. The behavior of Russia in relation to Hungary and many other countries of the Eastern Bloc at that time are outrageous. I'll tell you more about that in the book that I recommend this week. But I'm acutely conscious. I was 4 years of age in 1956. I wasn't conscious of the freedom fight, but I'm acutely conscious from my heritage of why this issue of freedom is so important. The Hungarians, despite overwhelming odds of Russia, the huge global power that is Russia at that time, had the courage to stand up against it, a true David and Goliath attempt. I believe that's where the Molotov cocktail was invented, where Hungarians had insufficient arms to attack the Russians, but they developed the Molotov cocktail of alcohol in bottles that they threw into the tanks. They lit a fuse and threw it in the tanks. So that's why freedom is such a big issue for me. It dictates my thinking around life. I'm constantly conscious of it. Passion is all about freedom. I teach people to be aware of passion and to be free to pursue their passion. I have deep involvement with industrial hemp, and hemp is a magnificent crop that helps to guarantee human freedom. Why? Because successful, profitable family farms are a crucial resistance to government control of lives. Because if all farming is corporatized and everybody's living in the city, it's very easy for governments to control you. Health is all about freedom. If you are healthy, you are much freer to move. You have much greater energy. You have much greater imagination because you're not consumed by your health problems. Education. I am an educator. Education sets you free. The law. The law is a crucial element in being able to preserve freedom. Australia's, America's, Canada's, England's laws are founded on the Magna Carta. Over 1,000 years of legal principles being imposed upon monarchs and dictators. The law is a crucial tool in the preservation of freedom. So my life is testimony to my commitment to freedom. Law, passion, hemp, health, education. But around the world, we have unthinkingly let politicians steal and reduce our freedoms, all in the name of safety, all in the name of this virus will get you. I say it is dishonest, it is corrupt, it is criminal. I say that many politicians will end up in jail. That is my prediction, both Australian and other countries, for the decisions that they have taken. But we have let them do it. They have cowed us with fear. Our freedom, when we used to wake up and say, what am I going to do today? No longer can that happen in Australia. We go, what are the rules today? We are restricted significantly in our thinking and our choices. We have lost our freedom to travel interstate. Our Commonwealth of Australia has been trashed. We have lost our freedom to travel overseas. Australians have lost their freedom to come back to their homes. We have lost our freedom due to house arrest. We have lost our freedom because of the need for compulsory testing. If you have been anywhere near somebody who has tested positive on a discredited PCR test, and if you don't get tested, you are locked up in your house for 14 days. Our children have lost their freedom to go to school. They've lost their freedom to interact with their friends. We have lost our freedom to show our emotions on our face, just like I'm showing you on this YouTube video. We are masking ourselves so that the people you interact with are like robots, are like machines, because you can't see their faces. So you don't care about them anywhere near as much as you used to when they were human. They're no longer human. They're hidden behind masks. We have lost our freedom to interact with human beings. I refuse to accept these attacks on our freedom. I refuse to be cowed. I refuse to be suppressed by corrupt criminal politicians who have, for whatever reason, been corrupted by other interests, by the Great Reset, by the New World Order, by the globalist psychopathic agenda of one world government. I reject that. I urge you to reject it. I urge you to embrace your humanity, because that's what makes you human. Your willingness to fight for your freedom. Otherwise, you are the same as an animal. I don't want to live life that way. My Hungarian colleagues did not want to live life that way. Hungary is now free. It fought for its freedom. We have to fight for our freedom. I urge you to do so. In that vein, I want to share a poem with you. I was going to have no song this week, but I'll repeat a song because I think it's very relevant. I certainly want my freedom to drink my coffee. I want to read a poem for you by James Grengs, Grengs. It goes like this. They tell me freedom is never free. I know that, more than most realize. Freedom cost us more than we should have to give. Freedom cost us blood. It cost us the lives of our fathers, our sons, our brothers. But while freedom is never free, remember, it has been bought at great price. And so is a thing of great value. We must defend it from those who would take it away. The defense of our freedoms will cost us more than we wish to pay. But we must pay to defend. For if we try to make freedom free, we forget true freedom is never free. The song this week, we've had it before, but it's very powerful. That's Freedom by John Farnham. One heart, one way, one love, to share but not to chain, that's freedom. It's a song of the heart, a race in the wind, a light in the dark, that's freedom. It's a reason to live, and after the rain, rekindle the spark. Let freedom ring. My book this week is the memoirs of Joseph József, pronounced in Hungarian, Cardinal Mindszenty, his memoirs. He was a cardinal of the church. Let me read from the book cover. The memoirs of József Cardinal Mindszenty reveal for the first time the full story of the legendary hero priest who has come to be regarded as a symbol of Christian and national resistance to communism. He was appointed cardinal in 1945 as the shadow of Stalinist terrorism was spreading over the countries of Eastern Europe. Minsanti carried on the outspoken defence of his church, just like I'm being outspoken today, and in defence of his people, until finally in 1948, Russian totalitarianism vented its wrath upon him. He was arrested for, quote, conspiracy and espionage, end quote, tortured and brainwashed in the notorious secret police headquarters in Budapest, subject to the mockery of a show trial and condemned to life imprisonment. Life. His next 8 years were spent in solitary confinement. After the Hungarian uprising in 1956, he became a semi-voluntary prisoner for 15 years in the American Embassy. This book is an extraordinary contribution to contemporary history that my parents went through, everybody. An eyewitness account of a country and its people under communist domination in the Cold War era. That's why my parents came to Australia in 1949, to get away from communism. Because in 1948, this is when the show trial happened. My parents left in 1947. They went to Austria. This book also sets the record straight on the causes and circumstances of Minsanti's departure from the embassy. This book is an unforgettable reading experience, as shocking as Arthur Koestler's Darkness at Noon, as sobering as Alexander Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago. Communism, nowhere, when I say communism, with dictatorship, nowhere has succeeded. The China is run by the Chinese Communist Party, but that's Chinese communist capitalism. That's not communism. This terrorism that was imposed on Russia, read about it in this book. That'll inspire you to fight for your freedom. My spiritual tip for you is to understand that freedom is a crucial spiritual element, a crucial spiritual aspect of who you are as a human being. So when you're fighting for freedom, you are fighting for your spirit, your true spirit. My health tip to you is to visit the website worldcouncilforhealth.org to understand there are many, many protocols for treating COVID, for protecting yourself against COVID. Many protocols that many doctors and physicians around the world have treated millions of people. Don't buy into this nonsense that the only protection there is against this virus is to take a jab. That is a huge, huge lie. Visit the website worldcouncilforhealth.org. Refer others to the website. My quote this week is from Tom Watson, the founder of IBM. I have it on my wall. It goes as follows: follow the path of the unsafe, independent thinker. Expose your ideas to the danger of controversy. Speak your mind and fear less the label of crackpot than the stigma of conformity. My message to you is do not conform. Follow your path. Follow your passion. Be free to live life on your terms. And lastly, a spot of humour. And it's about freedom. And I like this little story. A minister from the Anglican Church, a Catholic priest and a rabbi were enjoying the serenity of a country dipping pond near to their little town. Since it was fairly secluded, they took off all their clothes and jumped in the water. Feeling refreshed, the trio decided to pick a few berries while enjoying their naked freedom. As they were crossing an open area, a group of very old ladies from town approached them. Unable to get to their clothes in time, the minister and the priest covered their privates, and the rabbi covered his face while they ran for cover. After the ladies left and the men got their clothes back on, the minister and the priest asked the rabbi why he covered his face rather than his privates. The rabbi replied, "I don't know about you, but my congregation, it's my face that they would recognize." Very, very good. Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. I hope today's show has helped you to reevaluate your attitude to freedom, your thoughts about freedom. Research shows that a majority of people in the West would trade away freedom for security. I say that is a shocking way of thinking. That is a suppression of the human spirit. I say that stops you becoming anywhere near what you are capable of becoming. Fear is not a basis on which to live this magnificent experience that we call life. I hope the resources I've shared with you help you to reinforce your feelings, your thoughts, your own imagination around freedom. I invite you to visit our websites again, covest.com, charlescovest.com. And until next week, may your life be one where you become ever more passionate about pursuing the fight for what you think is important. And I hope my thoughts this week have inspired you to more deeply think about the importance of freedom for you, for your family, and for our combined humanity. Have a great week. I'll be with you next week. Bye.